Welcome to Sipping on Excellence. This is Coach KJ, and I'm here with my man, my dude, the Doc.
And this is where we will be discussing the exceptional that is absolutely attainable. My friends, here's to living that extraordinary life.
Cheers.
We gonna get this shit right. We got it now. Check. Welcome back, y'all. Again, it's another beautiful Saturday in Los Angeles.
90 degrees and it's
damn near Christmas.
I mean, here sweating.
This is why we live in LA.
Or is it that fireplace you got brewing behind us?
That too.
That's got me sweating.
That too. The ambiance for y'all to let y'all know this is a living room conversation. Yeah, that's what we do, man. Fuck it. Why not?
All right.
Adding a little something to it.
That's cool. That's cool.
You know, you know, everybody else shoots their shit in the studio. We bring the studio to the home.
Right.
You know?
They do. They do.
And that's
with
why
15 cameras and
right. And that's why our shit doesn't seem like an interview.
There you go.
Our shit seems like a conversation. Sorry, I'm making it a little hot in here for you.
Oh my God!
Shit.
You better stop laughing so hard. You gonna start coughing.
Oh, you got jokes.
Over here.
Anyway, easy.
Right, exactly. What's going on,
man,
Doc?
Sipping on Excellence back again. Saturday, loving it. God, we are pounding through these episodes.
I know.
You guys have been
100.
You guys have been good recently of telling us what you want to hear. So
get a little bit more.
You know, just pulling a little bit more out of you. Stop being shy.
But the thing is, we have been incorporating everything, whether it's with our live, which it becomes part of our post,
yes,
or on the show. So we're utilizing the information we want to hear because it's a dialogue. That means it's us talking to y'all too.
And when I talk to you or when Coach talks to you in the streets, don't be surprised if you become a topic. You might become a subject.
I might leave your name out. But the subject
but if you listen, you don't know it's you.
You know who you is. Old folks, man. I'm talking about old folks. Topic of the day. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, we had a blast this morning on the live. Those of you who didn't tune in this morning, y'all missing out, man.
You know the beauty about you and I is that you get out. And the reason why is because you're single. And the reason why people got a lot of stupid shit to say.
Yeah.
You always end up coming across some stuff. I'm like, oh, tell me about it. What we got this week?
We're training. I'm like, dude. I'm like, let me tell you a story. Then I was like, hold on. Let me give you the backstory first.
And then I'll go ahead and sit down. I'll chuckle first. And then like, go ahead, tell me about it.
Right. It's like, okay, I'm going to tell you the movie, but I got to give you the backstory. Let's set the scene.
Right.
So, and that's usually how most of these topics come up on the lives. We just life experience.
Yeah.
And what it's turned into and morphed into is a coaching session for women.
Is it really?
That's who seems to tune in.
I mean,
what I mean, coaches, it means it's two men having a conversation with women.
It becomes and a lot of times it becomes a coaching challenge. But today we had one that she was after. Man, she was punching them in the gut. She was
after.
She was team us.
Yeah, but the thing is, nobody said what we talked about today. Nobody had anything negative to say about it. There was no falsehoods given.
No.
You know, in case y'all wondering, we talked today about, as we always do, about communicating and what it boils down to. Close your eyes. I mean, open your eyes, open your ears, close your mouth. You know, you want to know, and then it kind of morphed into, you know, stop expecting us to understand and communicate on a level that your brain communicates on as a woman, because we're not there. We never will be. Somebody said earlier today, I was asked, why is that? And her simple response was DNA. And that came from a woman, not from a man.
Stop fighting us for your healing.
Say that again.
Stop fighting us for your healing.
Did y'all, I'm looking at the camera. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Because you need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Understand what we're getting at here, and just be a part of the conversation. Don't be the conversation. I'm going to say that one more time.
Please do.
Be a part of the conversation. Don't be the conversation. It's not a monologue. It is a dialogue.
Yeah.
Die meaning two parties. Mm-hmm. And if you're the only one talking, and then you wonder why your man shuts down, because you don't let him speak. And when you let him speak, you don't listen. Just saying.
It's funny that you say that, and it's just saying, because I think about clientele. A lot of times, let's say I get asked a question that they want to answer to.
Yeah.
Not all, but some. As soon as I'm done responding, there's an input of their scenario. So mine is kind of been shoved aside, and then there's grave detail created around what they want to talk about.
And here's the funny thing. I think it's not even realized just how much they talk. Like I told you, I sat with a group of people last night for an hour, and not one person said, "How was your day?" There's two of them. How was your day?
But they were very busy talking about how busy you are.
Right. And very busy talking about everything that was affecting them and their day. And I just sat there, sipped my drink, and listened. And was hoping that somebody would get the clue that maybe they should do the same. I wasn't there to talk about my day. But think about this. You and I, the first time, whenever I see you or you see me, hey, man, how you doing? How was your day? Isn't that like common what people do?
Immediately. Yeah.
Isn't that like, then we get into whatever shit we're going to talk.
Well, you know, for me especially, when we talk about this, when we're training.
Sets the tone.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because
it tells me exactly where I need to go in that moment.
Yeah, you need to know where I sit. You know, and if
I come with a platform. I come with a plate. But it's like an equalizer. You know, you're making adjustments based on
what I tell you.
Yeah.
And if I'm sitting down to have a conversation, or if I'm meeting, how you doing? Because that's going to steer the direction of the conversation. Dude, I'm great. Well, oh shit, tell me about it. Why? Or if, man, I had a shitty day. Oh, for real? Tell me about it. Again, it sets the tone based on, hey, how are you? But if it's, as soon as I sit down, man, my day was shitty, blah, blah, whatever. I don't even know how to have a conversation about that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because I'm not a part of it.
No, this isn't a conversation anymore. It's just, but if you sit there and say, hey, you know what? I just need a moment to vent to you, and then we can talk. Cool, have at it. But that's not how people communicate anymore. And men particularly don't communicate that way from the start, because of past experiences has taught them that nobody's listening. And so that's kind of where we went on the live today. Go on either SOE_podcast on IG or at...
No, listen to it 3 times. Go on mine, his, as well as SOE. There you go.
If you ever actually answer the collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it would help.
Oh, yeah, I can't. We're using my phone now.
You can do it later.
Okay.
See? Just saying. So you can go on all three platforms to listen to it.
Platforms, too. You said platforms.
Platforms. It's going to be one of them kind of days. And we ain't had a drink yet.
You know, I was just thinking when you said about being busy, I said, you know what? I'm going to stop saying busy. I'm going to start saying constructive. How are you doing? How was your day? It was constructive. Because I'm always building.
Yep.
As opposed to just saying busy. Because, you know, a lot of times people do busy to not be constructive.
Oh, I mean, there's a whole lot of people that do busy work that don't do shit.
Yeah. They're doing busy.
They're moving.
They're doing busy work to avoid the constructive part.
Yeah, people are constantly moving,
So,
but
yeah.
ain't accomplishing shit.
Yeah.
If you're moving a whole lot of pieces around,
How you doing today? Constructive.
people are gonna look at you like, huh?
Huh? Exactly.
Because they don't know what that means.
So now I'm pulling you into the conversation more. What? Take that one. Take that. Oh, I'm not gonna say that anymore.
That's a little gem for y'all.
Stop saying
You can use that. Take that.
Except for that part.
Shy away from it.
I know, right? You know, it's like there's certain things you say, and it's like, oh man.
On that note, before we get into today's topic, because it feeds off of kind of what we talked about this morning, and actually kind of like what we talked about previously, the no F's given, and how life leads you to that point of, as you age, you start getting no F's given.
Right.
And our topic for today is basically, I'm too old for this shit.
Too old for that shit.
I am way too old for this shit. You know, and so as we get into it, it's going to be real interesting to hear where this conversation goes today.
I'm looking forward to it.
You know, our sip of the day, because we two old motherfuckers, and it's still morning. We are going to, actually this afternoon, we are going to have Kahlua and coffee.
Kahlua and coffee. Kahlua Coffee. That's all it is.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
And it is tasty.
That right kick.
It's right there.
It's coffee with the right kick. Ah!
So, how often do you find yourself in a position where you just kind of shake your head and you're like, man, too old for this shit?
Probably anywhere on the low end 3 times a day to 7, 8 times a day.
Yeah, and do you find it mostly in conversations you're having, or is it mostly in kind of scenarios that you find yourself in?
I think it's the scenarios. For me, it's the scenarios, because when I'm with clients or in conversation, outside of clients, really, I'm not having that many conversations.
Yeah.
You know, but so the scenarios, you know, in the gym, I'm working out, something starts to, man, I'm too old for this shit. You know, getting weights, whatever, too old for this shit. Standing in line, man, I'm too old for this shit. You know, we find any reason to say it after a while.
I mean, think about this. Let's look back to the shit we used to do, say, in our 20s. Because I would say childhood, adolescence, teens, that era, you find yourself growing. So in your 20s is when you're finally an adult and you're kind of learning stuff. Think about something as simple as, I call it going out on a school night. You know what I mean?
Man, you don't call it that. We all call it that.
You know, and there was times when Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever day it was, hey, man, I'm going to the spot. You want to come? Or I'm going to dinner. You want to come? You want to do this? Yeah, let's go. Let's ride. What you got to do tomorrow? I'm on call tomorrow. I got to be up at 6 a.m. But cool. Let's go.
Right.
Because your mindset, your body was like, I got to be in them streets. Right? And at what point does common sense kick in and age kick in and says, you know what? That's probably not the smartest thing. I think the first time I really told myself, man, I'm getting too old for this shit, I was probably 30-something. And I found myself at a New Year's Eve party in Vegas.
How did you find yourself there?
Because I went to Vegas for the weekend, and I found myself, just went to a certain party.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out where this is going.
I go to this party.
Okay.
And I'm at this club, and, you know, at a table, bottles popping, whatever. And I'm sitting there, and all I could think to myself was, dude, there are so many other places I could find myself being right this moment. And I was like, damn, am I too old for this shit?
Yeah.
Because you think about it, all through my 20s, there wasn't a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday that I wasn't in them streets. I mean, think about it. My first trip through L.A., I was 21, brand new to L.A., everybody I knew were club promoters, blah, blah, whatever. Dude, I was in the streets. I was in school and in them streets.
Yeah.
And so I'd been there, done it a million times. And I think chronologically, I wasn't too old for that shit.
Right.
In my 30s. But life experience-wise, I was too old for that shit. Because I had done it all.
Yeah.
You know? And now, you fast forward, when people come to me and they're like, it's a Tuesday night. Hey, man, let's go grab drinks after work. In my mind, I'm like, I got surgery at 7 a.m. I'm starting to think. And then I'm like, I'm too old for that shit. Don't catch me on a school night.
It's basically the moment you have to start reconsidering or take consideration, it's probably too old for that shit. The moment that you have to like dial back, say, okay, the moment you go, what do I have tomorrow? You start staggering with your words, start asking questions. If you get to the second question, you probably need to sit your ass at home.
Or you start counting. Okay, if I stay out till 10, that means I get up at 5. That's 1, 2. You start counting how many hours of sleep you gonna get. You too old for that shit.
You too old for that shit, man.
Think about when you were single in your 20s. A woman hits you up middle of the night with that, what you doing, right? Whatever it is you were doing, you could be in bed, knocked out.
Because we were too old for that shit then. Because guess what? We too old for that now. Because we didn't even have text messages.
Right. So she hits you, she call you.
Yeah.
What you doing? And it's 12:30 at night. You in bed, sleep.
You already halfway dressed.
You, soon as the phone rang and you, hello, hey, clothes are on. Right?
Kind of.
Hold on. And it didn't matter if she lived in San Diego. You're like, all right, I'm going to drive that hour and a half. Fast forward to, say, 30. As you age, that phone call means way less. And you're like, she better catch me before 11. Right? And then it's like, where do you live? Ooh, downtown? That's like a 20-minute drive. Right? Bruh. And you start realizing how important sleep is. You start realizing how important the next day is. Mm-hmm. When you're in your 20s, you ain't thinking about the next day because you're living for now.
Yeah.
Now you realize living for now could destroy the next day.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm kind of good. Catch me on the weekend.
It's basically now, the power of now is your value versus the power of tomorrow is your value that you're putting into.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the problem is so many people are trying to hold on to their youth, but in the wrong way. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You know, we exercise because we want to stay healthy. Why? Because we want to hold on to that youthful healthy. Mm-hmm. We don't exercise because we want to hold on to an 80 healthy. We want to be 80 and 40 healthy.
Yeah.
You know, we want to be 50 and 30 healthy, you know? Yeah. And so, but then you get people going the opposite direction who can't quite let go. You know, you 75, you might want to turn in that bikini. Or you're trying to dress like your daughter. Or you're trying to dress in skinny jeans, the sagging, like your grandson.
Or some we know that are going out in their daughter's dresses.
Going to the club with their daughter. Now, if you're 55, you shouldn't be in the club with your daughter. You shouldn't be in the club.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm going to point that out now. You shouldn't be in the club.
Well, I was even going back to age. When you're young, you didn't even care about health then.
No.
It's all about how you look.
Yes.
You had no idea. If I knew now if I knew back then what I know now, there's so many dynamics that would have changed physically, the training aspect, everything. And I probably still would have gone hard in the paint that same way, but there would have been different modalities added to it. I would change the way I move, how I feel, how I eat.
If we all could be Monday morning quarterback on Saturday and predict the game,
was a good one.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Life would be very different. I think the problem is most of us can't let go of our past and our perception of the youth. And I was having this conversation with a patient. You feel 25 in your brain. Mm-hmm. Your body says different. Society says even more different. Your brain wants to give society what they want when your body knows better. Mm-hmm. You know? And so we go through all this stuff. We try to put ourselves in a younger mindset, younger place, all these things, because we refuse to just accept the grace of growing older. You know? And I come across patients all the time, and they hate when I tell them, oh, you're this way. And they're like, why do you think this is happening to me? And I just point to their age. And they're like, aging sucks. I'm like, it beats the alternative. Mm-hmm. They're like, what's that? I'm like, not aging. Right. And so the biggest money makers on the planet are age-defying shit. You know, for example, I was doing some research and looking for face products. And what I mean by face products, face soap and moisturizer. Yeah. Because I'm like, I normally use just fucking soap and water and whatever body lotion I'm using.
Regular soap? Regular
soap.
Water?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, you got to step your game
Hold on. Never thought about it. Just go.
Dried you out.
Yeah. And throw a little lotion on, good to go. But then I was like, you know what? Let me start to take better care of this compared to this. Not trying to defy aging, but just saying, you know what? I should take better care of it. So I did some research and just ordered some stuff. And I'm like, you know, I'll test it out and see. I just always did what was simple. There are people out there who spend endless amounts of money they don't have to try to not be who they are.
Yeah.
You know, and don't realize, dude, you're too old for this shit. You know? Girl, you too old for this shit. Number one, there's plenty of people who are too old to be acting the way they act. If you're 30 years old, still living at home with your parents, still trying to figure out life, you're too old for that shit.
It's real talk.
I'm not saying you got to go to school or start being an adult.
Right.
And that's what's wrong with this younger generation. They haven't realized they're too old to be in the position they're in. Where they are in their 20s and 30s is where people like you and I were in our teens. Mm-hmm. Like, I turned 16, couldn't wait to get a driver's license.
Right.
I know people now who are in their 20s who are like, I don't want a driver's license.
Bro.
To me, driver's license meant independence.
Been driving since I was 14.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to drive badly.
Because think about it. That's your first sign of independence. Exactly. That's your first sign of I'm getting closer to being and doing what adults do. Mm-hmm. Right now, kids don't want to be adults. My niece told me once, adulting is so hard. I don't want to be an adult. I was like, the fuck is hard about being an adult? You're just taking care of yourself. I know. And I'm like...
But it's funny, they want these defining aspects of adulthood.
I want you to treat me like an adult, but I don't want what comes with being an adult.
Right. I want adult light.
Yeah. I'm going to tell y'all now, y'all too old for that shit.
Yeah, like it's an app.
Yeah.
Turn it off, turn it on. put the folder over here. Just slide. Listen, adult is a full-time job.
You don't get
adult be adulting.
And here's the thing: you don't have a choice. You don't get a choice of being an adult,
right?
Because honestly, the government says you're an adult at 18. Guess what?
They gonna
you get the good and the bad that comes with it.
Yes, you do.
You know, but I think today's youth just don't understand that shit, man.
No.
Here's the other thing: have you noticed? Now we're gonna get to women in relationships. Have you noticed how childlike people can get in a relationship?
Very
Stomp
much so.
their feet, or the battles that they have, and you just want to be like, you're too old for this shit.
Right.
You're too old to be acting this way. Why are you coming at me like a child? Or women who will say they have to treat their man like a child because he leaves shit around. He does this, he does that. He acts like one of the kids. Notice how there's friends of mine who are married who have sons, and they'll count their spouse as their child, as they're the child. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, have you ever thought that because you treat him like a child, he acts no different?
Mm-hmm. He's going to act accordingly.
You won't let him lead, so he's like, fuck it. I'm one of the boys, and you take care of it all then.
Yeah. Because they spend so much time, instead of talking to him,
talking at him.
She talks at the boys, but she talks at her husband the same way.
Can't turn it off.
Nope. And guess what? He's going to line right up with it.
But
either that or he's going to be combative and go the other way.
And if you can tell him all day he's an immature child, but the minute, and you won't say he's acting immature. You just say, you're acting like an immature boy. You and your boys are just immature, infantile egomaniacs. But the minute he says you're acting like a child, all hell breaks loose in that house. Right or wrong, you know? You're whining and acting out and gossiping and acting like a child.
Too old for that shit.
You're too old for that shit.
You're way too old for that shit.
You know? For you to keep saying, I don't understand why we don't communicate better, blah, 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 blah. You're 50 years old. You're too old for that shit. You should have understood that by now. If this is not your first relationship, you should understand what's happened in the past. Leave that shit in the past and be present now. If you're not, you're too old for that shit.
That's the problem, though. You're going to a new chapter, but you're reading the same old chapter.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of pages that haven't been read, but you're still reading this chapter. What are you not learning? Or what are you learning that you don't take forward?
You're acting like the same, like, oh, for example, the dudes who can't let go of that frat boy mentality. They're acting like the same guy they were in college. I'm like, the funny thing is, you notice these dudes when you go out. You're at a bar, you're at a restaurant having a nice dinner, and you see the dude at the bar who you know he's 40 plus, and he's doing his thing. Hey, trying to hit on every woman, and you can see he's a little bit loud. He's buying drinks for everybody. He's doing all this stuff. I'm like, dude, you're not at a frat party. You're 40 years old. Have a little bit of. You're too old to be doing this shit. You really are. Mm-hmm. Or the man or the woman who gets sloppy drunk.
Way too old for that shit.
I don't care what scene you're in. You at home with your peeps. You're out in the streets. Whatever it is. You're way too old to be getting sloppy ass drunk.
Bro, we were in Mexico.
Yeah.
Just recently. Guy gets on the elevator. There's a husband and wife with their child, their baby, in a stroller. Another couple in the back. It's a huge elevator. Another couple in the back of the elevator. This guy comes on with his daughter and his wife, gorgeous woman, sloppy drunk, just, oh, hey, and he's falling all. And I didn't want him to fall on the child. Yeah. And I was like, oh, it sounds like you've done way too much, but I'm holding him by his arm. And nobody knew that. Yeah. And he's just all over the place. He was like, oh, just having a good time. I was like, you having way too good of a time. Way
Right?
too good of a time. She was ignoring him. The child was like, Dad. And then I guided him off the elevator when he got to his floor.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, oh, my God. That was, and the other people were talking about it. It's like, yeah, y'all shouldn't be thanking me because he's way too old for that shit.
Yeah.
And he was going to fall on that child.
And you can have a good time. You can have a few cocktails. You can feel good and not be falling all over the place sloppy.
I hate it.
Because by the time you're in your 30s and 40s, you've done that in your 20s. You know what your limits are. Dude, ride that line if you want to, but you're too old to be crossing that line. You know? You want to turn me off? Get drunk and loud in front of me. If we're just starting to date, get drunk and loud in front of me. I promise you that'll be the last date. Oh, I was drinking and it's not all. Dude, you've already proven that you don't understand you're too old for that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can't keep your composure.
I don't do drunk like that.
No.
At all.
Ever.
At all.
I don't care where I am.
Yeah. I don't do it and I don't like it. Listen, unless we're together and we are getting smashed together,
Yeah.
you don't get the opportunity to be more smashed and I'm not drinking. Or vice versa. I'm not going to, you know what I mean?
Or if it creeps up on you, I'm like, girl, you need to slow down.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're right. Whew. I'm getting a little bent.
Exactly.
Cool. I got you because I'm going to protect you.
Yeah.
But if we ain't there yet.
Yeah. And you're getting bent and I'm standing straight.
I promise you, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure you get home fine, but I probably won't ever make sure you get home fine again.
Right.
Because you're probably not going to see me.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I 100%. Like, I don't mind when people, I just think at a certain age, you should not be getting sloppy drunk.
Right.
It makes absolutely no sense.
What's the point?
It just doesn't, it's not even fun.
Or if I'm sitting there and you're slamming down shots. Woohoo, party over here. I'm like, you're 45. Why are you slamming shots?
Hell, when I leave here, before I even leave, I drank my bottle of water.
And if you're out like that, drink something you like the taste of. You're a grown adult now. You can afford to drink something. You don't buy the crazy cheap tequila shot because you're trying to get drunk quick. This is not a Cancun party for spring break.
Right.
This is dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant. Don't ask the server for shots.
Too grown for that shit, man.
I'm bringing that up because it's happened. These are real, true stories. You know, if I'm sitting there,
The fact that you have to say real and true at the same time,
yeah,
because people have this false truth. Sad, really sad.
Man or woman, if I'm sitting here having a conversation with you, and you're no longer in your 20s, and I meet you, I'm like, hey, so what do you do? What's going on? I'm just trying to find myself. You're too old for that shit. If you don't have any idea about your direction in life and you're 30, you're too old for that shit. If everything about your life is something you're planning but you're unsure, you're too old for that shit. If your whole life is about a plan and your whole life has no action, you're too old for that shit. Your 20s is where you find yourself. Your 30s is where you should be already trying to implement that shit. You know?
Yeah.
If you don't know none of us really know who we are completely.
No.
But if you haven't started understanding your wants and needs by the time you're 30, you're already falling behind. And that's what I see a lot with this next generation after us. They're not figuring out how to adult. You know?
Yeah.
They're not figuring out how to adult appropriately.
It's like there's this missing element that was never taught. So you wonder, what did they learn from their parents or their grandparents, if they ever listened to their parents or their grandparents?
But here's the crazy shit. They have 1,000 times more access to information than we had.
That's where I was about to go next. I mean, their accessibility is incredible.
We had to ask somebody or read a book. Your access to information now is at the
I
tip.
feel like I was Donald Trump right there.
You know, is at the tip of your fingertips. Is right there. You got a supercomputer in your hand, and you still can't figure out adulting. Part of adulting is accessing information and implementing it.
That's all.
How hard is that? It's not.
I think about one of my uncles. He was at, I want to say, Hughes Aircraft. Lost his job. You know, he's in his, 50s at this time? Had to make an absolute shift in his whole career dynamic, everything. Married, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
And was going through a tough time in his relationship, but was able to, because he's an adult, make some hard choices, make some hard shifts, and make some changes. He's like, I gotta refocus. And he did. Boom. He moved on to a new career. Life is good. He's in his late 60s now, enjoying it, high position.
Yep.
He's doing good because
he figured it out. He knows how to adult and overcome adversity.
Yeah.
Something else that bugs me, if you can't control your emotion a little bit, you're too old for that shit. Learn how to take control of the shit you can control. Don't say, I'm emotional, I can't control it. You sure the fuck can.
Which goes back to, I'm triggered. Stop using your therapy words that you hear online and
be an adult.
Yeah.
You're too old for that shit.
You go to therapy to find out what your triggers are, because that's a personal relationship you have with your therapist, and you work on those so that you don't have those triggers when you go out into the world to be an adult. Don't take this in here and keep using it as your, as your badge of honor. That's not the way it works.
If you're 30 and TikTok is controlling the way you view the world, you're too old for that shit. If kids are influencing you as an adult on how to live your life, you're too old for that shit. Stop letting trends that children are starting become part of your world. Let them have their shit. Yeah. And it goes from how you dress, how you communicate, language. I'm not going to start using the language my nephews use. I know what they mean, but I'm going to speak to them in the way that oh man, that's this or that's that. I'm like, I feel you. That shit sounds crazy coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're too old for that shit.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm going back to the 70s.
Is that a fact, Jack?
Jive turkeys. Mother sucker.
Dude. But it's just, people don't realize that as time goes and decades pass, you don't have to feel different, but there are certain expectations as an adult where you have to be able to say, I'm getting too old for this shit. Let me take my thinking to the next level. Let me take my actions to the next level. I'm too old to be figuring out life still. My life should have a fucking direction at 50. I know so many people who don't. And my life's direction may change, but it still has a direction. If your shit is going around like a merry-go-round still, and you're 30, and I keep saying 30 because I'm giving y'all 20-somethings a little grace period. But if you're 30, you're a grown-ass man now.
Yeah.
The world expects you to be a grown-ass man now. A man in his 20s, not so much. A woman in her 20s, everybody expects you to be a grown-ass woman now, because why? You're at that stage. You're a decade before us. Your mental capacity is 10 years older than us.
Sad, but true. It's a fact.
Hence why a lot of women will be more attracted to older men, because an older man is at your same wavelength, because we think 10 years younger than we are.
Yeah.
And I think our mental maturity probably stops at 30. But that's okay. We know that shit, everything else about us, but at that age, we should be on our way to figuring out what it means to be successful. We should be closer to understanding what it means when we want to find peace. We should be at that stage of, okay, I'm interested in understanding what love is. If I'm learning how to love myself, that's a constant process. But at some point in time, if you're allowing yourself to get shit on constantly, you're getting too old for that shit. Once you've been shit on a few times, you should understand how not to get shit on.
Yeah. You learn from your behaviors.
Yes.
And not their behavior. You learn from your behavior. The things that you might pick up from their behavior is that, yeah, I don't like when people do that to me, but what is your behavior going through that process? So that way you can get to the punchline a lot faster when you see the BS, because you're too old for that shit if it keeps happening.
Think about what people tell their kids. When they're getting older and they're stomping their feet and doing this, they tell you, girl, whoever, come on, outgrow this. You're getting too old for this now. You can tell your kids that, but if somebody tells you that, you start losing your damn mind. But it's the same thing. At different phases, if your teenager is doing things like a toddler, you're going to say you're too old for that shit. If you're in your 20s doing things like a prepubescent boy, you're too old for that shit.
Yeah.
If you're 30 and you're doing dumb shit like you did when you were 20, you're too old for that shit. Most people don't get told because they're afraid of the repercussions. The person who's going to tell them, they're afraid of how you're going to respond. Oh, I don't want them to be mad at me. I'm going to tell you like this. You do dumb shit in front of me, I might tell you, you're way too old for this shit. If I care about you. If I don't know you, I'm going to let you do dumb shit because
that's on you.
I'm going to let you just show your ass, because what's going to happen? It's going to make me look better.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I care about you, I'm going to snatch you up and be like, look, I need you to stop doing this dumb shit. You're too old for this shit.
Yeah. But I think the big thing to take away from it as well is that, you know, as we get older, life changes, things happen. You might make career shifts. You might make relationship shifts. All these shifts in life, they are moments of adversity or whatever you want to say. The idea is, as an adult, you're able to, okay, got to make a shift too. What am I going to do?
Right.
Repurpose the purpose so that way it's purposeful for you, as opposed to just like, I don't know, what am I going to do? I got to sleep on mom's couch. You know what? Even if you have to sleep on mom's couch,
you're figuring it out.
You're figuring it out. It's when you continue to look for people to, oh, it's okay, the pats on the back. That's when you go, you are too old for this shit. You got to go figure it out. You don't have time to cry.
Kind of like that movie, Failure to Launch.
Yes.
When dude just would not leave his parents' crib.
And successful. And wasn't he successful?
Successful, but a certain part of him, it's like, dude, at some point in time, you got to fucking spread your wings and fly. Mm-hmm. And when I say you're too old for this shit, it's not chronologically too old for this shit. You're too mature for this shit. Maturity comes at different stages in life. Mm-hmm. You could be 45 and have a maturity level of a 15-year-old. At some point in time, you're too old to be that immature. And at some point in time, you're too mature in certain aspects of your life to be acting this young.
Yeah.
Whatever that chronological number is, you're too old for this shit.
Yeah. I mean, even for myself, I feel like in the last couple of years, I've made a whole different level of maturation process that's like, oh, shit, I'm really getting older. Oh, okay. All right. I'm trying things a little differently. But I think the thing is, as you get older, you learn how to become more efficient. You're not looking for so many areas to all, encompass all these different modalities and these efforts to do one thing. It's like you're trying to find just that 1 to 2 things to just do it well. It's about efficiency.
Yeah.
Because that's what adulting is. It's becoming more efficient. You're not trying to overwork your mind, yourself, your body. You're trying to be at peace.
And if you ever have to question yourself and say, should I be doing something? Then you already know you're too old for this shit. Right?
Yeah.
If it's just not natural, let's go.
Yeah.
Then you're too old for this shit.
Yeah.
You know, if you're 60 still at a rave trying to pop pills, you're kind of too old for that shit. You're not too old to have a good time, but do that shit differently. Leave that shit to the kids. That's no longer you. You're trying to relive the youth you never had, or you can't go of the life. You can't let go of the life you used to live. Either way, it's a fucking problem. You know, and I think that's what creates just madness and people doing dumb shit.
I think the problem also within that is the not necessarily the doing, it's the overdoing. It's the constantly doing. It's the I need to relive this all the time. Now, if you're doing it once in every year,
and you're
like
you
you
know
and
what,
your
let's
girls, we gonna do the Molly, we gonna drink,
cool.
we gonna get lost.
But you're too old to be doing that shit every weekend.
I know someone that every year they go to Coachella, they're like, yeah,
and that's fine. You let go. You know what? I want to act like a kid.
Right.
Cool, because we all should have that kid inside of us that needs to come out and play sometimes.
And identify the fact that, nope, I'm about to act like I'm letting you know now.
I'm about to do this.
So back off me.
Yeah, cool.
I'm going down this lane.
But when it comes to getting your life together,
yeah,
you shouldn't be doing that shit if your life's not together.
Right.
Get your life together first, then go do that shit.
Yeah.
If you can't get your life together, then you're still too old to be doing that shit. Get your life together, then do that shit.
Yeah. So bottom line is, too old for that shit doesn't necessarily mean that behavior is the act on the behavior consistently that's too old for that shit.
Yeah.
If it happens, you identify that you're too old for that shit, so you be like, okay, I need to step away from this. But if it's a continuous behavior, that's when we all have to say, you too old for that shit.
Yeah. If I say, Kenny, grab your wife, we're going to this party, or this weekend, we're going to say, fuck it, let's go out. We're going out. We're going to go hard. We're going to do our thing.
Right.
Why? Because our life is together. You know, we've adulted.
Yeah.
And this is our time to be a child. If you're acting like a child every day, you're too old for that shit. And you're not a child, put it this way. If you have a child, you should not be acting like a child every day. If you're old enough to have a child, you should not be acting like a child.
Yeah.
It's that simple, man.
Yeah.
Fucking damn. Are we too old for this shit? Right.
You know, cats still watching wrestling and
Cats still thinking they're restless.
oh my God.
Come here, WWE.
Right. Breaking stuff in their house.
Right.
Get out of here. Miss me with that.
Dude.
Too old for that shit.
Way too old for that shit. Dude, great podcast today, man.
Yeah, man.
What? Where they gonna find you, man?
Oh, man, they're going to find me at Coach KJ Knows on Instagram at CoachKJ.com.
You're gonna find me at Lionel Hunt. You're gonna find us both at SOE_podcast. You'll find us also on YouTube at Sippin, SIPPIN, on Excellence.
Right.
And you'll find us on our website at podcastsoe.com. And every Wednesday, 6 a.m., podcast comes out on YouTube and every platform you can think of.
That's right.
Every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, we do a IG Live where we tackle all y'all's questions. It becomes a conversation between us and y'all.
Right, because we're going to tell you about yourself because you're too
Absolutely.
old for that shit.
We're out.